This is Carlo, I'm at Devils Dyke. I'm testing the Supair Savage and the Supair Delight 4 Sport. Woo! Very light and scratchy. Pilots who always fly in places where the conditions are stronger, windier or stronger thermals, more turbulence, tend to prefer flying heavy loaded. But if you fly in the UK and it's often light and scratchy, sometimes it's actually better to be lighter loaded. Being heavier loaded just means you go down. Also, lighter loading tends to make gliders a little bit more sensitive, give a bit more feedback. And of course, if it's really rowdy conditions, you don't like that. But if it's really light, scratchy conditions and the thermals are very subtle and weak, then you want more feedback. Hugh's got something below. Doesn't mean I'll get up. He does climb rather well. Ooh, all right. This thermal's been squeezed flat somehow. It's like there's a little wind shear, a little bit of, slightly feels like an inversion, but the air is so crisp. Doesn't look like there should be. And there's no doubt about it, the Savage climbs exceptionally well. And I've no doubt I'm benefiting from that today in these light scratchy conditions. Really nice feedback, nice handling, and particularly the good climb rate. I mean, I can stay in the air while others are all going down. Of course, there's a certain element of luck involved there. But when I was climbing out, they're really scratchy conditions, the light thermals. I hadn't had as good a sink rate, I wouldn't have climbed as well and I probably would have gone down. Just goes to show on Sundays it's better to fly lighter loaded. There's some birds climbing in front of me. I'm going to go and have a look at them, but I should have maybe just stuck with what I had. But let's have a look. I've got a bit of height to explore. Here with the Savage, it's got quite long brakes for a high sea glider. Oh, I should be paying attention. Look, they're catching me up. So what I find is I really need to do the classic half wrap, same as I did with the Design Volt 4. But the difference is with the Savage, the very soft, minimalistic brakes mean if you don't grab it right, the brakes just slip again. So I've had to, what I found works is to wrap it around the back of my hand. And now I've got a really nice position. Yeah, the Delight 4 Sport is a very, very comfortable, very easy pod harness. And the Delight 4 is the same base, it's the same chassis as it were. And the main difference with the Sport is just the tail fairing. And that means that the space, the packing space in the back is a bit less on the Delight 4 Sport. Well, it looks more, but it's actually less. And that's because some of the space is taken up with the sections in it to make it inflate and keep pressurized. What I'm doing here is I'm stay in the lift and try and make the best of the lift, which I've just fallen out of because I was fiddling with the camera. I'm straightening out now, turning a little bit. So I'm exploring. This is kind of a wide exploratory turn until I feel the lift increase like I do there and straighten up a bit. But I know from thermaling in this, turning in this thermal before, that it's kind of like a increase on the upwind side of the thermal, and then if you leave it a bit too long you fall out the front, like the upwind side. So what I'm doing is kind of slightly timing, feeling when I feel a nice little push there, and the thermal will vary a beach very shortly after, almost instantly, but a slight delay. And there I feel like I've dropped out of the downwind side of the thermal. So yeah, as I was saying, now I'm looking at the clouds as well to give an indication of the clouds. Pilots often make the mistake of thinking the clouds show you what's happening right now. Well, they do where they are, but of course the thermal that made the cloud, the cumulus cloud, has already been. So really, they're more showing you what was, but you are looking back into the past a bit. When you're looking at the clouds, you're seeing what happened. And that's why it really pays off to pay attention, looking at the clouds, how they develop, looking at their cloud shadows, and watching over time how they're developing, to then help you with your decision on where next to go when your thermal runs out or you reach cloud base or whatever. So now as I'm gliding towards this cloud, which is quite far away, and I'm gliding cross upwind, at the moment getting quite a bit of sink, what I'm doing is also looking for any signs of lift. And one of the key things we get around here is birds, and one of the main ones I look out for, mainly because they're easier to see, are seagulls. I'm going to carry on this way. Sometimes you have to commit. So I'm committing to this cloud, because that looks like my best chance of getting up. Ah, this is wonderful. It's good to be alive! People ask me sometimes, why do you fly? And of course, it's not everyone's cup of tea, but I'm generally thinking, why wouldn't you fly? Okay, it's dangerous. Fair enough. You can get hurt. But that's why you do everything to put everything in your favour for your safety. And then you get to enjoy experiences like this. Woohoo! It's cold up here. It's a wee bit nippy up here.